Hi there, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be reviewing a self-help book called I Before We by Oluchi Kolanisi. And to be honest with you guys, I've learned so much from this book and I hope you guys are also going to learn something. So let's get into the video. So I'm going to read the synopsis to you guys so you can get a feel of the book and know what exactly it's about. So this book is about author Onyiwe Kolanisi's self-journey through the school of life. It follows the path of how she had to find the voice within herself first in order to discover its mysteries and then heal it so that she could bring her best version forward. The book is about allowing your darkest side to come to light. Use those lessons to nurture relationships with others, because how we see and view others and the world reflects how we see and view ourselves. This book invites you to look at yourself from a holistic perspective and peel back the layers in your own life. But most importantly, this book invites you to ask important questions to allow for self-growth. So the book is divided into 10 lessons or topics which we encounter in each and every one of our lives, and I'll be reading like excerpts from each and every passage so that you get a feel of the book, and also I'll be telling you what I learned from the book, because this is a self-help book and I'm very glad that I got to come across it, because it has some of the things that I've been working on. I remember a few videos ago, I was mentioning how I'm trying to work more on my mental health, because I have a hard time thinking positively and looking brightly into the future. And I like how she talks about generational traumas at the back of the book, where the introduction is, where she talks about the conclusion, where she talks about how a family dynamic actually affected her, and how she watched this YouTube video and someone was talking about generational traumas, because I know mostly we talk about generational curses, generational wealth, but rarely do we talk about generational traumas. So she was talking about how she came from a dysfunctional family and it was actually helping, and she goes back to her paternal grandparents and her maternal grandparents, and also how that sips into her life, and she doesn't want the same for a future family. And I feel the same too. Having come from a dysfunctional family, I have so many fears, so many things I'm trying to face at the moment, which I've been coming to know. It hasn't been fun, trust me. This whole journey of getting to know yourself more, as much as it sounds very romantic and as much as we romanticize it, it's not. It's really scary, and you get to see some of the darkest, most annoying, most vile things about yourself. But the important thing is you get to learn, you get to understand yourself. Like, for example, late last year, around November, December, I get to really face myself and understand that I'm self-sabotage. Like, so many things, so many good things happening in my life, and then I'm just like, maybe that's not it, and then I just do something that that ruins it. So this book has actually helped me, and I hope it helps you. So yeah, let's start with lesson number 1. Each and every chapter has a quote, and the quote for this chapter, which is called Listen, is "The world is giving you answers each day. Learn to listen," by Carla Federal. And I'm going to read a part of the chapter which really spoke to me, and I hope that also helps you if you're someone who struggles with listening, because there's a difference between listening and hearing. You can hear all the time, but are you really listening to what the person is saying? So here we go. In order to be able to listen, you must have the willingness to remove all judgment for yourself and others. There is a Bible verse about first removing the plank out of your eye before you look into someone else's. Judgment inhibits clear communication. This is because when you judge, you already have an answer at the back of your head about what the message is based on your personal experience. So I think, obviously, we all think we're great listeners. I think this myself. I'm not really sure. I think my mother would not agree, but yeah, when it comes to listening, most people think that when you hear something, you're listening, but sometimes we're actually listening so that we can counter. Like what it says here, most of the times we already have a judgment, or we already have a set answer in our head, and it's very hard hard to listen to what the other person is saying. And I like how she was talking about they had this course where she was, I think it was like she's in the corporate world, so I think they were having this training where she had to be the coach, and then she also had to be the trainee, and they were actually having this training of listening. And then the people were saying she's not very good at listening because she doesn't give people the time to talk. And I kind of have met people like that who don't really give you a chance to talk. Sometimes they don't even realize that's what they're doing. It's because maybe they feel like now is the chance to be able to talk. But I think in each and every single dynamic, it's very important for you to listen, because I know sometimes when it comes to listening, we're just listening so that we can, pick something that we need to counter with, like, oh, so is this what you're saying? What I heard is, and we're not really hearing what the person is saying. So I think this is something which most people need to work on, myself included, of course. And listening is very important because I think it really dismantles so many walls and so many things that might have been miscommunicated. So I really like this lesson on listening, and I hope you guys are also listening. So yeah. So chapter 2 is about solitude, and the quote which goes with the chapter is, "It's your road and you're alone. Others may walk with you, but no one can walk it for you." And this was by Rumi, not Beyonce's child, by the way. There's actually someone called Rumi who is a well-known poet. So I'm going to read the part which really got to me, helping me through my journey with solitude, because I don't know if I can describe myself as a loner. Sometimes people are loners by choice, others by circumstances. Well, obviously in this time, because of the COVID-19, most of us have become introverts only because we can't go out. But what it says here, I'm going to read part of the chapter, so that maybe you can understand. So here it goes. "I've always been a loner. I thoroughly enjoy my own company. I like spending time with myself and my thoughts. Most would say I'm always in my head. I also like moving in small groups, friendships and otherwise. Solitude, I came to find, is not the same. Solitude means being one with your true self and spirit, understanding that regardless of who may be beside you, the onus of your life is entirely up to you. This includes your family, partner, friends, colleagues, your dog, your cat. Your life is up to you and what you tell yourself about yourself, the direction you are taking, and where you see yourself in the future." So I think that really dismantled what I thought solitude meant, because obviously when you hear "I want to be in solitude," you're like, oh, okay, I want to be alone. It's like when Jesus said he was in solitude. When you read the chapter, it says that he was by himself, but it really means that you have to be one with yourself. And I know most people have a fear of being by themselves. They don't like being by themselves, and there are others who excessively like being by themselves. I might be coming out of that now, because I remember there was a time when I just wanted to be alone, even relationship wise. I was single for 7 years and I just didn't feel like I wanted to be in a relationship, and I'm kind of coming out of that now. And it wasn't because I really understood what solitude meant, and now that I really understand it and I'm working towards it, I've really come to understand that you really need to work on yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. You're you. You belong to yourself, and you really have to work on yourself for you to be able to be with others, communicate with others, and also be comfortable with yourself. So yeah, I think that's what I've learned from here. It's very good to learn to be by yourself, with yourself, because when people hear, "Oh, I'm by myself," or when they hear about being single, or these days everything is about romantic relationship, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you just need to be by yourself, with yourself, to know yourself, to deeply know yourself and understand yourself, and face those things you don't want to face. It won't be comfortable, but it will definitely be worth it. So highly recommend that. Chapter 3, intention. Intention is more about the why. Why are you doing this? I remember when I was taking this writing class, an online writing class, and they were always telling us, when you start writing, why are you writing? What's the purpose? Exactly are you trying to evoke? What exactly are you trying to express when you're writing something? And I think even in life, you have to understand why are you doing certain things, because you can't just be doing something just for just because you can, or other people they do that, but I think there's always supposed to be a why. And the quote that comes with that is, however gracious an action in itself, it ought not to pass for great if it to be not the effect of wisdom and intention. And that's from Francois de la Rochefoucauld. I know I butchered that, but I'm sure if you're into like philosophy and poetry, you know who I'm talking to. I'm so sorry I butchered that name. But yeah, now I'm going to write the excerpt for on intention, and what exactly is intention, and what we're supposed to learn from that, and what she learned from that, because this book is about her personal journey and how she came to know more about it. So here we go. I would start exercising, then I would stop. I was doing a lot of what was working for other people and not looking at what would work for me. Only when I kept failing did I realize that I had to have a tangible reason as to why I was wanting to lose weight. After that realization, I did an entire 180-degree turnaround and studied the entire narrative. Firstly, about weight, and secondly, about what weight meant to me. I wanted first to find out why I was overweight. The reason was I was impulsive. I couldn't say no. This was exacerbated by the fact that my job involved a lot of traveling and conferences and events. This means that there was always food. In the office, there was food because we celebrated birthdays by buying each other cake and snacks, and we had junk food Fridays. With this information at hand, I wanted to be in a position where I was able to have control over my impulses, which was the main reason why I was overweight. I had no control over that area of my life, and it was showing because the weight kept piling up. The conversation then went from losing weight to creating a healthy lifestyle, custom made for myself, that I could sustain. I had an intention. I wanted to be healthy and alive to reach my goals and eventually tell my story. Once the intention was there, it made my life easy. So I'm sure most people, well, not most people, but some people might be struggling with weight, especially when it comes to like, we're in pandemic. It's okay if you can feel okay. Your body is keeping you alive. I think that's important enough, and that's what I'm telling myself. Not that I'm letting myself go, but I think you have to be gracious to your body too. But at the same time, like what she's saying, she had to look at why she was doing it, because I think sometimes, especially with women, man, we have to like obviously not everyone wants to look the same, but you know, there's so much pressure when it comes to having, you know, like a tiny waist, you know, a flat stomach. Sometimes it's for the wrong reason, but for her, what I liked is she knew why. It's because she wanted to be healthy, and she had certain goals. And personally for myself, I just want to be comfortable. You know, I just want to be comfortable and not have to suck in my stomach every time I take a picture, and that's my goal. Okay, and also to be healthy. So I've been trying some things. I've been taking walks with my brother when I'm not going to work. I've been running with my brother, and I think I'm very glad I have someone to do it with, because I'm not very good doing it by myself. But obviously, because I want to be healthy, I have to do it for myself. I have to take accountability, and I have to put in the work myself. But what I like about this is she understood why she had to do it. It was not because she wanted to look good for someone else. It was because of her personal growth. And I think that's something which we really have to look into and put forward. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it to please other people? Because if you're doing it to please other people, they might not even notice, and then what's the point? So it's very important for you to do certain things for yourself, especially when it comes to weight, when it comes to the way you look. Do what's comfortable for you, not what's comfortable for someone or what you think people will accept. Do what you want, you know. Make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're happy with it, because at the end of the day, your life is in your hands. So that's what I learned from intention. Even I had to question myself, certain relationships that I was in. Why am I in this friendship, in this relationship, in this, you know, in the setting, you know, and also what am I getting from it? Because I think sometimes we just put ourselves in situations without realizing why, and I think it's very important. Every time when you do something, especially big decisions, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Exactly what is your intention, and what are you hoping to get from it? So yep, that's what I learned. I hope you guys learned something too. Chapter 4 is about self-awareness. Oh, and by the way, you guys, so at the end of each chapter there is like a space where you can write what you've learned, and there are actually a couple of questions. What do you understand by, let's say for example, for this one is self-awareness, right? So what does self-awareness mean to you? How are you planning to discover more about yourself? What did you learn about yourself from this chapter? And then you have a section for additional notes. So it's a very personal book, and if you're someone who's trying, like what I said before, you're on a journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, growth, you know, love, self-love, self-care, all the above, I think this would help, because you actually have someone where you can write down, especially like after reading every topic, then you just jot it down, and then yeah, that's it. So on self-awareness, I'm going to, each chapter I'll be reading the quote and then something which stood out for me. So here we go. Self-awareness. Self-awareness doesn't stop you from making mistakes, it allows you to learn from them. And this is from an unknown person. And the part which stood out for me, here we go. You're within yourself every second of the day, from birth until the second you die. So it's easy to take it for granted that you know yourself. Of course you know yourself, at least certain aspects of yourself that are revealed to you. I'll use the analogy of driving a car. As a driver, you have to remain aware, present, while looking ahead in the windscreen, the future, using the mirror to help you see the rear, the past. And you have blind spots, aspects of your personality you are not aware of. You must use the latter. You make decisions on the present so that you can get to the future. Another very important thing about driving, being in this life journey, is to always stay in your lane, true to yourself. Therefore, self-awareness is very important in order to have direction in your life. So I've always have this issue with when people say, oh, I know you. Not that I'm saying you don't, but do you really know me? Okay, now I'm not saying that like someone is like a devil spawn when they say, oh, you don't know me, but I just feel like, especially when you're on a journey of self-discovery and you're also getting to know yourself, I think when someone has known you for like, let's say 2 years tops, and they're saying, oh, I know you, I'm like, do you? I don't even know myself. I've been with myself for like over 20 years, you know, and I'm struggling to get to know myself. Obviously you might be aware of my blind spots, you know, you must know certain things, but fully know me, I don't know, man. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't think that is also good for someone to know you better than you know yourself. You know, I think it's very good for you to be aware. And like what it says, I really like the quote that says, self-awareness doesn't stop you from making mistakes, it allows you to learn from them. So as much as you're aware of yourself and your self-love and your self-journey, getting to know all these things, you're going to make mistakes, and I think that's okay. We all make mistakes. I myself need to learn this. I think I'm a perfectionist. I need, like, in my mind things have to be a certain way, and I know it's very controlling, but I think I'll talk more about this when you talk about the past and generational traumas and childhood traumas, because I'm now realizing that's where it's rooted. And what I like about self-awareness is you're aware of it, and I know like most times when you realize that you've done something bad, like you've made a mistake, myself included, when I know that I've hurt someone or I've done something bad, like I really make it very hard for myself to move on from that situation, because I really hate hurting people. I hate it. I hate seeing someone, you know, go through something because of what I did, and I really beat myself up for that. And I'm learning to understand that, you know, I'm not always going to make the right decision. I'm not always going to be perfect, and as much as it hurts me, I'm glad that now I'm aware of it, and I'm actually trying to find a way to navigate around it, to see like, okay, Rudolph, you've made a mistake. Of course I apologize, but still I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. And I really beat myself up, like, you have no idea. I think that's why I always like try to like not be too much into people's lives, because I'm very afraid to make mistakes, and then I'm afraid they'll hate me. This is all rooted from my childhood. I'll talk about it later. This is a book review, this is not a me review, so I'll talk about this some other time. But anyway, chapter 5 is about the past, and the quote which goes with it is life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. And this quote is by, I apologize if I butcher this name, Soren Kierkegaard. I hope that's it. Kierkegaard. Yeah, it looks like it. Sorry. And what goes with it is the past is where most of our current behaviors, attitude, beliefs, and biases come from. It is the conditioning that we have allowed for most of our lives. That conditioning informs our patterns, behaviors, and norms, whether we like it or not. It is alleged that the first 7 years of your lives informs the basis of how we live out our lives for the rest of our days. But most importantly, the past is the teacher that we all need. It is the master of the road we have already traveled on this life journey. It is not by coincidence that we remember the past, the good memories and the bad memories. Good and bad experiences from the past inform a significant amount of our decisions today. And what I like about this is I read somewhere, so I have this 6-minute diary which my friend bought for me, and it comes with this quote, and it talks about how our mind is conditioned to actually think more about bad things than good things. Even like in our past, most people tend to remember the bad things more than the past, and this is a pattern which I've actually noticed with myself, remembering more of the bad than the good. And it was saying that scientifically, I think there was like research on it, when they were saying that even like in the olden days when there were cave people, like they were always thinking about the bad, which is why they always had to hide, they always have to forage, all those kind of things, because our mind, 80% of it is conditioned to think about the bad and how we can actually protect ourselves rather than the good. And I also so every day, 3 minutes in the morning, I write like things that I'm grateful for, and then what I'm expecting to do during the day, the good things. And in the evening, I have to write what I'm grateful for, what I experienced, all of that. And what I liked the other day, there was something that said that what we think, like when you stay too much in your head and you think about things that will never happen, 80% of them, they never happen. Like 15% might happen. All those fantasies, all those bad things, like when you overthink, myself included, when you tend to overthink a lot, the bad things, oh my god, what if this happen? 15% of it is most likely, not that it's going to happen, might happen, and 80% of it might never happen. So for me, that was like reassurance that I really need to stop overthinking, and this whole thing of just trying to live in the moment. Anyway, back to the past. Like what I was saying before, our past influences us. Like for example, what I was saying about like having come from a dysfunctional family, like my parents separated when I was young, and that is something that has really affected my future now that like I'm getting out there, I'm getting to know people, thinking about relationships again, and I'm like, what if I turn out to be like that, or my life takes another another turn. As much as I would want that, because I have the desire to be, there were moments when I was like, I don't really think I want to be in a relationship. I really don't think I ever want to be married, because I didn't really see a lot of positive or good marriages around me. So obviously that affected me, and that has been affecting me now. And now that I'm grown, now I have to face it. Now I have to like face reality, and I have to like pray for my own, be hopeful, have a positive mind, not self-sabotage. And what she says about the past is a teacher. So like I'm learning from like what I used to see before, like the bad marriages. And I'm not saying that it was bad, because I don't really know the full story for some of the marriages that I saw. Could have been abuse, it could be unequally yoked, it could be anything. But now that I know better, I think now I also have to work on that, and I know it's never going to be like perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. I've heard so many people talk about this, married people, who are married, and what I've learned, they say that there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, but it's something that you have to work on. You have to choose your partner each and every single day, because now we're in the big leagues now. Love is not like those fleeting feelings which you have when we're teenagers. It's actually like having to choose the person you're with daily, even when they annoy you, even when they bring out the worst in you. But you also have to know what you can handle. But I'm not married, what do I know? But yeah, the past, something we have to learn from. And I'm also learning from like some of my habits, my attitudes, this whole self-sabotage, because I always feel like, because if it's not perfect, what's the point of doing it? Coming from like wanting everything to be perfect, and also like procrastinating, that's also part of like wanting things to be perfect, like anxiety, where it all comes from. So it stems from like childhood, because there's actually a book which I'm meant to start reading, which has to do with like childhood traumas, that some of the things now you have to like learn to reparent yourself. As you're growing, you have to learn like to nurture yourself, to tell yourself that it's okay. I have moments when I'm like panicked, like I just wake up anxious, I'm like, where the heck did that come from? I don't even know. So I have to like pray, and then I have to reassure myself, Rudo, you're okay, Rudo, you're safe, Rudo, you're doing great, you're doing the best that you can, and you're going to have a great day. So I reassure myself each and every single day, because I have to be there for myself before anyone else is there for me. So I'm learning to like solitude, like what we talked about before, to be there for myself, to reassure myself, and to just keep growing. And I know I'll never be perfect, but I'm just grateful I'm having these moments where I'm realizing all the things, the blind spots which people see, which I don't see. And more to that, as much as it's hard and excruciating, we have to. Chapter 6 focuses on communication. Words are, of course, the most powerful drug used by human beings, and this is by Rudyard Kipling. And what I related to, alright, I'll read the excerpt, of course. Communication can be verbal or through actions. Communication carries a lot of emotion. A word or action that a person uses has an emotion tied to it. I understand through my own observation that I'm a better communicator with written words than I am with verbal words. I'm also aware that I use words when I'm verbally communicating more than emotions, meaning that I'm not very expressive with my emotions, and that may come across as cold to other people. I'm also aware that when I'm feeling emotional, I tend to be very blunt in my delivery. It took a lot of listening and observation from people to learn about myself and how I communicate. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So like with communication, you also have to be able to listen, and listen was the first one. So I personally think, as everyone knows, that I'm good at communicating. Actually, I really don't know, but I know that I'm not afraid of confrontation. Confrontation doesn't necessarily mean we're going to fight. I think when people hear confrontation, they're thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to fight. That's not what it means. For me, confrontation, I just need to understand what exactly did you mean by this. So I'll ask you a question, because as an overthink, of course, like it might come, different. I might receive it differently, and I'm really working on this whole overthinking thing, because it really ruins so many things. But I ask questions, so I think it's good for you to be able to like ask people questions. What exactly do you mean by this? And also not to have your emotions detect what everyone is saying, because I think sometimes we let our emotions get in the way. I think I'm the kind of person who communicates more with emotions. I can come across as cold sometimes, especially when I'm quite angry. I really don't have any senses at times. Like I just say it as it is, and not that I will be cussing or anything, but I just say it very bluntly. And I think sometimes I'm not really aware that I'm actually hurting someone or saying something. But I think I also need to like work on this communication thing. Don't get me wrong, like when it comes to like confrontation, I'll really ask you, okay, what do you mean? And it's not like I'm coming to you aggressively. I just need to understand, so that we're on the same page, so that I understand what you're saying, you understand what I'm saying. But I've come to realize not a lot of people like confrontation, because I remember listening to this podcast called 30 Minutes with the Perrys, and the wife, Jackie Hill Perry, was saying that she does not like confrontations. She's that kind of person. When someone confronts her, she kind of like, goes back in. And she was talking about how like it all started in childhood, like when she was young, confrontations, they were not always positive. and that's how she kind of like, even now that she's an adult with like 3 children, it's still affecting her. So I think for most people, they don't like confrontations. I had a friend who did not like confrontations at all. As soon as you like ask him something, he was like, oh okay, and then you just shut down, even like simple things. But I think as we're growing, it's good to know why you're afraid of confrontations or communication, bad communication, but you can't be going around and saying, you know what, I'm very bad at communicating. It's not something to be proud of. It's actually quite sad, because I've seen so many guys be like, oh, I'm very bad at communication, as if something's like an aesthetic. It's not. It's quite sad, to be honest, you know, because like we're grown, you should work on your communication skills. Even for women, they're like, oh, I'm bipolar. Like, not like they'll be saying it in a way, not in a medical term, which is quite bad, you know, because there are actually people who suffer from bipolar, but they'll be saying it as if like it's a good thing. Oh, I'm bipolar, I can go from 0 to 100. Like, work on yourself, man. Like, really? Do you really want to be that person who's just like, you know, I know we all have our emotions, but I think it's very, very great, a very good thing to learn to communicate, because through communication you get to see what you like, what you don't like, you know, and then you can just make a decision that, you know what, this is not for me. Even if like you're in the talking stages with someone and then you communicate with each other, and then if you don't like what they're giving to you, it's okay for you to be like, you know what, I don't think this is going where you're supposed to be going, you know. Not just ghost them, even if you like a ghoster, okay, that's up to you. But I think communicating is a very great tool, even like in the corporate world, even when you get out there, when you're trying to put yourself out there, not only in relationships with friendships or with romantic partners, but just in general, like being able to communicate with people, being able to like express how you feel, you know, it's very important, because so many people are like, oh, I can't do feelings. Feelings will do you if you don't do them. Trust me, if you don't face them, not all of them are good, but I just think it's good for you to face your emotions. I always say this, go through the process. It will help you, rather than just ignoring them, which is also the same as communicating. I think communicating is very essential. Like for me, I like people who communicate. Tell me if I said something wrong, if I said something which has hurt you, let me know so that I know, not just be quiet and then hold it in and be like, you know what you did. I don't. Tell me, you know, because people, we have different tolerance. What I say or the way I say it, I might not realize that it's hurtful to you. So it's very good to communicate, especially like speaking for myself, people my age in your 20s, you can't just be there and be like, oh, I'm very bad at communicating. Like, really? Chapter 7 is on forgiveness, and the quote which goes with it is, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover the prisoner was you. And this is by Lewis B. Smithers. The person who is impacted most by forgiveness is the person who needs to forgive. There is a saying in my native language of Xhosa that says, umenzi uyalibala. This means that the doer forgets, and the impact of the act is felt by the person who the act was done upon. As a person who is unforgiving, you have to deal with having to carry the burden of unforgiveness. By choosing not to forgive, you carry anger, resentment, and bitterness. This anger and bitterness is towards the act of the person. However, the person that suffers is the one carrying these negative emotions. These negative emotions plague our hearts. Thus, such emotions make a person weary and completely burdened by the act of unforgiveness. So, as a Christian, obviously, I am to forgive. And I will not lie to you, it's not always as easy. Because when someone does something to you, you feel like you need to be justified. But that's not always the case, because not everyone has that ability to apologize. I heard someone say that the heaviest word to say is I'm sorry. And I really disagree with that, but people are different. But I think when someone has done something to you, it's not easy to forgive. I'll not lie, you know, especially when they've really hurt you and people are saying, yeah, forgive and forget. No, I'm hurt. Why? But again, remember, you're Christian, even if you're not, you know, it's just something we feel like we need to be justified, and that's human nature. We feel we need to understand why you did that, and not everyone has the opportunity for that. So many people, like I remember this other day, someone was saying, you know, congratulations to those who moved on without an apology or getting closure. And I think that's something we need to master, because I think it will make your life easier. It's something that I'm mastering myself, not always having to be told I'm sorry, because some people will never do that. And also not having to hold on to things and be like, ooh, it will happen to them, karma. It might not happen to them. I know, like, there's this validation where we have with justification of saying if someone does something to you, it will catch up with them. It might not. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but I think so many people hold on to that reality of thinking that if something happens, then karma comes back around. For some people, it doesn't, okay? And I think we really need to face reality and just let things go. Just let it go. It's hard, trust me, but I encourage you to, like, cry. If that's how you're going to get through it by yourself, cry, face your emotions, but don't be like, oh, I hope this happens to them, or like revenge. I think I'm the worst person when it comes to revenge. I just don't have the energy to revenge anyone. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just lazy, but I don't get the point. If someone does something to me, especially like if let's say, for example, it's a friendship or it's a relationship, right? When I'm in that setting, I give my all, and if they do something to me to hurt me or something wrong, of course I'm going to hurt, but I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to hold on to it. But I think it's very heavy, having to not to forgive someone, or having to hold on to something saying, oh, I hope this happens to them, they'll never find someone like me. They will, okay? They might. It might not be you, but hey, people are finding people out there. Please do not burden yourself with that mentality of saying, oh, it will catch up with them. It might not. I'm sorry to say this, but it might not catch up with them. Just release yourself, forgive, and it might take you time, but just don't kill yourself over something someone has done to you. It's not easy, trust me. We all need justification. We all need to understand why someone did this. I myself need things explained to me, like, why did you do this? Like, word by word. I really need to, like, I'll ask questions. Why did you do this? Like, how do you think I would feel? But you will not meet everyone who will be able to give you that time to, like, literally explain. And as much as that's bad, I think I'm learning to just letting things go, because I don't really hold on to things, because I would think about it like a lot. Like in a couple of days I'll be like ruminating on it and like thinking, oh, why this, why that, but after a long time I'm like, my mind will be so tired of thinking about it. I'll be like, what's the point? But I'm actually trying to like move away from that, like practice being a Christian. I will not lie, it's not easy, and I don't think it's going to be easy in the next days, but I'm working on that. You see, self-awareness, but it's not easy. But yeah, so forgiveness, it actually frees you. It's not about the other person, but it's for yourself, because I know we're in this era, or our generation, we're the kind of generation, oh, you would never do this to me, so we kind of pull the plug first before the other one pulls the plug. And I think it's a way of protecting ourselves, obviously, but at the end of the day, someone else is going to be hurt. But I think if you're on the receiving end, if you're the one who is hurt, for yourself, for your own health, for you to be able to move on, let it go. It's not easy, I will not lie to you, but let's just have this mentality of learning to let things go. We're not always going to be justified. We're not always going to like have someone explain themselves, and that's okay. It's part of growth, as much as it sucks, but we need to. So, number 8, boundaries. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love oneself, even when we risk disappointing others. And this is a quote by Brené Brown. Setting boundaries means you are setting the tone for how people treat you in your life. It means having a say in how you want to receive people. This is to protect yourself and your mental health. People always act in their self-interest first, no matter how much they care for or appreciate you. There are people who are natural givers in life. I, for one, am a natural giver. I share. Fortunately and unfortunately for me, and a lot of other givers, they are also natural takers. People will love receiving and will never give. These are people who are while family members, romantic partners, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. These people only show up to take from you, whether it be money, energy, happiness, etc. You will not see them when they are not in need, only when they need something from you. Then they disappear again as soon as it's going well for them. As a giver, I understand my position and create boundaries around who I share with and why. If you're a natural taker, you might want to assess your needs and how you are serving them. Is it to the detriment of others? So boundaries, mostly when people hear boundaries, they think about the bad things, but I think boundaries are very good. I myself suffer from this problem of, I don't think, is it a problem? No, it's not a problem, but I tend to give a lot. And because I give a lot, sometimes I've met people who are not givers. They don't give back. Not that I give people to give back, but sometimes it's best, like, if you invest energy and time into something, it's quite nice to receive it back. So like last year I went through a burnout. Like, I was giving so much and I wasn't like taking care of myself. I gave so much. I felt so spent. And the thing is, I fail with being selfless. I am practicing being selfish. Sorry, not selfless. Being selfish now. I'm kind of like taking liberties and, you know, trying to like take more time to myself, trying to give myself more time and spend time with myself, and actually not give too much to people, because in most situations how I start is how I finish, and there are people who, like, how they start is not how they finish. So I end up like giving more and more and more until I'm spent. So this is something that I'm actually trying, and it's not easy, but I'm actually glad that, you know, I'm actually being a bit more selfish. I'm actually saying no more. I'm actually choosing myself first, because I used to like put other people's needs first before my own. And of course I didn't do it because I was like, I need them to do it back. I'm trying to really understand where it came from, like just giving and giving. Or like, was I trying to compensate for something? Because like when I say I give my time, I mean like I would give my time. Like if someone would see, would be like, oh Rudo, I need you to do something for me, or I need you to be here in this place and time, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's okay. And sometimes I would actually end up letting myself down and trying to be like there for that person. But now I'm just trying to find a balance where I can also be there for myself, because I think sometimes we kind of like put ourselves at the back, you know. I've realized that I've been doing this a lot, putting myself second, then putting other people's needs first, you know. And it really got to a point where I was realizing not a lot of people were giving back to me, you know. And I was just like, you know, so who am I going to go to if I need something? And the people who I was giving to, I was giving my time and energy and everything to, they're not people I was comfortable asking for something. Then I was like, I think there's a problem there. So I kind of had to like back off and really assess like, why exactly am I doing this? And after that, that's when I thought, okay, maybe I need to like invest some more time in myself, try and see what Trudeau likes, what Trudeau needs, you know, the good and the bad. So I think it's very good like to set boundaries in any way, because also your boundaries, they kind of set your standards, what you like, what you don't like. And with boundaries, you kind of get to know more of yourself. So I highly recommend people to have boundaries, because boundaries, it doesn't mean you're not letting people in. Boundaries are different from walls, okay? Boundaries to just like, okay, I think I'm not ready for you to cross this yet, you know. I'm not ready for you to like invade in the space, because we don't know each other well, or this is my me time, I need this for myself. So I think it's very important, like, for this journey of, you know, I before we, being a person, being yourself first before you like invite other people in, friends, family, romantic partners, blah blah blah, the whole shebang. So yeah, it's good, very good to set boundaries. Chapter 9 is on relationships. A great relationship is about two things. First, appreciating the similarities, and second, respecting the differences. And this is a quote by an unknown person. And in this chapter, she's talking about her best friend, how they're different and how they actually had to work on, you know, staying friends because of the differences. And I think it's very important to have friends who you have differences with. Most people think that if you're best friends or if you're friends in general, you have to like the same things, like everything. I do not think that's a good idea. Nor do I think that's nice. Like, where's the adventure in that? Of course, you're going to like have certain things which connect you, but I don't think I would like a friend, a best friend who is exactly like me. I don't know, it's just boring and stale, like exactly like you. So I really think it's very nice to have someone who you're different with. And what she talks about here when it comes to relationship with a best friend, she says acceptance comes from knowing that a relationship comes with similarities and differences. My friend and I have a lot of similar traits that I love. We are both givers, we're creative, we are from a similar family background. We also have similar hobbies as we enjoy hiking, exercising, watching documentaries, as well as having a similar taste in music. In relationships, you need to be able to list down the similarities and differences and accept both, because the other person has to do the same. Once you know the similarities and differences and are familiar with the arrangements of your relationship, it is easy to maneuver the relationship from then on. If you have resentment towards another person's differences to you, that means you do not accept him or her fully, and instead of enjoying the differences, you will spend your time trying to change the other person or having ill feelings towards him or her. So I think this is something's wrong with my throat today. I think this is something which is very important to understand and analyze differences in relationships and friendships, because I think most times we concentrate on the differences, why they're not like this, and then we kind of sort of try to control the situation rather than enjoying, the differences. I'm also on my own journey. I'm grateful for this book too, but I'm also learning to live in the moment, to like experience the good and the bad and to just let things be, because I have this thing of wanting things to go a certain way. I'm actually unlearning that. I don't have to control things, and you can never control things. You can never there are things which are completely out of your control, and you can never control people. That is something you should literally get out of your mind. You can never control people. You can never change people. People change when they want to change. And I think it's very important, like especially in friendships. I think friendships are some of the most neglected relationships, because everyone is focused on finding the one, everyone is focused on romantic relationships. But I think we also need to invest our time and our energy in friendships, because I think friendships are the foundation of most relationships, and I value my friendships. And I know sometimes, like now that we're grown up, we're busy, and you also have to understand that your friends are busy. I saw this tweet this other day. Someone was saying, oh, if someone doesn't, are they your friends if they don't check up on you every day? I'm like, I understand, like, of course, every day. I have a friend who I talk to every day, and it doesn't seem like it's a task. It's just something that comes naturally. But we also have to understand people have jobs, and we're going through a freaking pandemic, People are scared out of their wits to stay alive. People are trying to stay alive. No one is going to be having the energy to be checking on every single person, every friend. If you have the time, just check up on them. And I think it's very bad for someone to be holding a grudge because someone didn't check up on them. If you've thought about it, just check on them. I think these are very sensitive times, and I think we need to have more grace on people rather than just sit there and think, oh, so they did not check on me, I'm cutting them off. Come on, you guys. Like, everyone is scared for their lives. Like, people are dying in droves. I think we need to understand that, and also have a bit of grace, when it comes to people. People are losing family members, and then you have to burden them with this whole thing of, oh, so you're not a true friend because you didn't check up on me. Like, come on, we really need to have grace, especially in this moment in times. In any moment in time, just communicate with them. Like, if you feel like you're being neglected, just communicate it, say it. They'll probably explain to you. Maybe they're going through a hard time. We just need to be more understanding. And also with friendships, like if you have time now, invest in your friendships. And friendships, they are very good, to be honest. Like, friendships friendship with women, they're very good. Like having female friends, people will empower you, people will like build you. You get to learn certain things, you get to understand certain things, you get to unlearn certain things. Like I'm actually like learning quite a lot from my friends, like character wise, even like fashion wise, and I think it's very important, even like with guy friends. I'm for the notion that women and men can be friends, but people are different, because I don't think every relationship or every person you meet, you really have to be in a romantic relationship with them. So I think you can also learn from like male friendships. It's good to have different people who think differently from you. Learn quite a lot, rather than just being with people who would think exactly the same as you. I think there's no room for growth. So expand your horizons. Look for equally yoked friends. Okay, don't go out of character trying to try other things. But even if you meet people who don't believe in the same things as you, it doesn't mean like they're bad people, but I'm just saying, take the good. If you don't like something, you don't have to take it, because we live in a very diverse world. You're going to meet people who don't believe the same things you believe in. You're going to meet people who are completely different from you, and that's okay, because we're all in this world together. We're all taking our own place. So yeah, I think it's very important to work on friendships, and also put as much energy as you might do in a romantic relationship. So last but not least, is chapter number 10, and that has to do with acceptance. And the quote is by Buddha, and it says, "Time does not heal anything, but acceptance will heal everything." And what I liked about this chapter was how she was talking about acceptance. I think we all want to be accepted, and most people, myself included, I've been a bit out of character trying to like get validation from other people, trying to be accepted. But it's good to like be aware of like when you understand that, okay, now I'm being a bit out of character. I'm an advocate for self-awareness, honestly. Like understanding yourself, getting to know yourself. You never fully get to know yourself, but I think it's very important for you to put in effort, because you spend the most time with yourself. I think you're the person you tend to be more comfortable around, getting to know yourself, getting to your brain, your emotions, your feelings, all of that. And she writes, "Acceptance, however, means taking the bad behaviors and good behaviors and shining a light on them so that you can learn and move on. Once I could understand that, I was able to accept myself and able to accept any situation. When you listen to understand, you always get two resolutions from any situation. The first situation is one which is in your control, meaning there is a solution you can employ to resolve it. The other resolution is the situation being out of your control, and in that case, the solution must be employed by external forces, or it cannot be fixed. Acceptance is a place of knowing that you're okay with any resolution, be it the ones where the solution lies with you, or so you act, or the ones where the solution is outside of you. In which case, you have to trust the source. Even if the source is untrustworthy, it is beyond your control. Acceptance is taking the good with the bad and being at peace with whatever the outcome is." So yeah, acceptance. I like how she highlighted that sometimes things are completely out of your control, and that's okay. And I think that's something which is very important. Is someone who feels like I have to like control the situation because I feel like maybe it's going to go bad, so I try to take things into my own hands. I'm actually learning that it's okay if things don't go the way that I expect to, especially if they're beyond my control. I can always do my best, because I've been living with this mantra of like, at least I tried my best, so I'll give my all into something. If it doesn't work out, I'll know there's nothing else I could have done. I've done my all, and I'll just see what I learn from it. It might not be an instant lesson. Sometimes it might take me time, but I'm just going to go with that accept that things have happened. Some things you cannot control them. Some things there's nothing you can do to fix them, and that's okay. It's okay. You'll be fine. Any outcome, you should be fine. And as a Christian myself, I take comfort in knowing that at the end of the day, God knows what's right for me. Obviously I would have tried my best, I would have like worked hard, I would have prayed for his will to be done, but if it doesn't come out the way that I like, I know that he has greater things waiting for me somewhere, and maybe it's definitely not for me, you know. Maybe that opportunity wasn't for me. As much as I really wanted it, as much as I put my all in it, as much as like I stayed up late, as much as I fasted for it, if it doesn't come to fruition, then it wasn't for me, you know. And I think it's something that I have to accept. Like in most situations, I think we kind of think as we think like if something doesn't go our way, we've failed. Sometimes we haven't failed, it just wasn't for you. And I think it's very important that this book also highlighted that. And if you're someone who's going through a self-discovery journey, you're trying to get to know yourself better, or you know someone who's trying to get to and understand themselves better, I would highly recommend this book. And I'm sure you'll find it on Amazon. That's where I was able to get it. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please stay safe, wash your hands, social distance, and always wear a mask. Until next week, goodbye.